Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. My name is Lauren Pryor with the Environmental Learning Centers of Connecticut. We're down in the Terra Lab at the Indian Rock Nature Preserve, and with us here we have all of the residents from the Barings Nature Center. And who we have up front here, we have a corn snake, Darwin, and she's a little hidden right now, but we'll take her out soon enough. We have a western hognose snake, Miss Hiss. So today's topic is snakes. So we'll talk a little bit about their natural history and how we take care of them, well, for right now at the Indian Rock Nature Preserve, but typically at their home at the Barnes Nature Center. But first, let's define what a snake is. What makes a snake a snake? Okay, I can think of three things that make a snake. One, that they're a reptile. So if you are a reptile, you've got to have scales. Okay, so we'll take out Darwin here. Take a look at his scales. So Darwin is a male corn snake. And all over this snake's body, he has scales. Okay, that's one characteristic that's going to make him a reptile, is he has scales all over his body. Corn snakes can be more red in color. They come in different morphs, different phases, so they can be red in color. Or we can have like Darwin here. Darwin's a little gray-brown and yellow. But scales, why does a snake want to have scales? Why are scales important for this animal? One reason is that they're going to be able to protect the animal from injury. So they're protecting the body. The scales are going to ensure that this animal can move onto land, so they don't constantly have to be wet if they had skin like amphibians. Scales are also going to help this animal grow. So when they shed their scales, they're going to shed their scales as they grow. The scales will grow with them as their body grows. So they're going to have brand new scales underneath each time they shed. And that also makes sure that their body stays healthy and that they're clean. Another attribute to this animal that makes them a reptile is their backbone. So you can see Darwin is very movey and wiggly this morning. Making him move is his backbone. So going from his head all the way to his tail is a backbone. This reptile is also what we would consider cold-blooded. So you might be familiar with the term cold-blooded or warm-blooded. As people, we are warm-blooded. This reptile is cold-blooded. And the scientific word for that is ectotherm. He's an ectotherm. So this animal, when he gets too cold, well, think about what you do when you get too cold. You might put on an extra layer of clothing. You might wrap yourself up in a blanket, or your body's going to start to shiver. This animal can't shiver. And you can think about when you get too hot, what your body does when you get too hot. You're going to start to sweat. Well, this animal can't sweat either. So they can't regulate their own body temperature. They rely on their environment to do that for them. And they do that through the sun, through heat from the sun. The corn snake gets their name because of the pattern on their belly. So I'll bring Darwin around so we can get an up-close look at his belly. So on his belly, this we're going to call his ventral side, his belly side. We see he's kind of got this checkerboard pattern. And it reminded of some scientists that it kind of looked like corn kernels, maize or the Indian corn, so that's how they got their name, the corn snake. These snakes, they are constrictors, so when they eat their food, at the Barnes Nature Center, we're going to give him mice. Out in the wild, they're going to enjoy small rodents. Adults will eat rats, little lizards, small birds or bats. They're constrictors, so they're going to wrap their body, they're going to strike their prey and wrap their body and squeeze around their prey. And squeezing will cut off circulation, subduing the prey so then they can swallow it whole, typically head first. The male corn snakes will be a little bit smaller than the female corn snakes in length. They can get up to about 5 feet in length. And we are in mating season of the corn snakes. So corn snake mating seasons will go March to May. And then the females will find a nice rotting stump or pile of leaves to lay their eggs in. And the moms, the females, don't take care of their babies, so they'll lay the eggs. They'll lay about 30 eggs. And about 60 to 65 days later, those eggs will hatch. And the babies will be about a foot long when they hatch. You might notice that Darwin here is sticking out his tongue a lot. And he's not hissing, so he's not angry with us, and he's not trying to bite. He's actually using his tongue to smell. So snakes, they do have a nose, but they don't use their nose for smelling. They use their nose for breathing. He's using his tongue for smelling. So snakes have something called a Jacobson's organ, which is at the back of their mouth. It's a little hole in the back of their mouth. So when Darwin here is sticking out his tongue, he's getting all of the scents on his tongue. He's taking a big whiff with his tongue. And then when he retracts his tongue back into his mouth, he puts it up to the little hole, the Jacobson's organ, and he's able to register what he is smelling. So I mentioned before that he has ventral scales. Okay, they're a little bit longer in shape. Those are going to help grip the ground or the trees when he's slithering around. Where the scales on his dorsal side, okay, that's his back, they're much smaller in size. Kind of like little circles all fitting together like a puzzle. So each circle is one scale. And when Darwin sheds, all those scales will come off. Sometimes in one big go, sometimes in patches. It all depends how humid his enclosure is. Then I'm going to put Darwin down so we can meet our western hognose snake, Miss Hiss. And our western hognose snake, they are found, think the middle of the United States and going up and down. So they're going to be in southern central Canada, the central United States, and then continuing straight down central northern Mexico. And this type of snake, they love floodplains, loose sandy soil. They love to burrow and dig. And she's got an awesome body part. This is going to be Miss Hiss. And she's got one really awesome body part that helps her dig. lot smaller than Darwin. But let's take a look at her body and see if you can notice what is going to be helping her to dig. That's not legs. Okay, you can think about her name, the Western Hognose. Because on the tip of her face is very pointy. It's upturned. That's why they have the name hognose. This animal is going to be using their pointy face to dig, to help them burrow. They're going to hide, whether they're looking for food. They love the toads that are going to be hiding down in the sandy soils. Or they're going to be making their burrow home. Now this type of snake is much smaller. They're a smaller snake, very, very light in weight, maybe half of a pound. They can get up to 3 feet. That's pretty big for them. Typically they're around 2 feet. We can see she's sticking her tongue out a lot, so she's getting a good sniff. She's using her Jacobson's organ to smell. There we go. But just like our corn snake, she has scales. So there are her dorsal scales, the scales on her back. Think dorsal fin, like on a dolphin. Dorsal, it's on the back. And then her ventral scales. So quite different than Darwin the corn snake, her ventral scales are very dark in color. Overall, she's got great camouflage. So if she's going to be living on floodplains, in sandy, loose soil, she wants to be the color of that ground. Now these snakes, they're going to be eating small mice. I mentioned toads. They love toads. At the Barnes Nature Center, we feed them mice. Now this snake, she's pretty cool because technically she is venomous. Now, usually you wouldn't want to handle a venomous snake, but this venomous snake is very low risk to a human, so that's why we are able to safely handle her. So when she has her prey, she's going to strike it, and she's going to use her venom to subdue her prey. So that's different than the constricting actions that the animal like a corn snake would do. Now, a lot of people say venom. They might use the word venomous and poisonous as the same thing, or in fact, they're very two different terms. Poison and venom. Okay, so when I say this snake is venomous, I mean that she has fangs that will inject toxins into her prey. That's the key word, inject. Venom is always injected. And then think of Snow White in her poison apple. She consumes, she eats the apple. So poison is always consumed. So that's the difference. Now you can have a poisonous snake that makes their predators when they're eaten sick. But venom is a form of attack. So when she's taking down her prey, she's going to inject them with venom. And then she'll swallow them whole. Miss Hiss here is about 5 years old. And she loves to burrow. In her tank, we give her wood shavings that she'll burrow in. She'll make tunnels underneath in the shavings. This animal is also known as crepuscular. So crepuscular is a term that not a lot of people know, but you do know its opposite term, nocturnal or even diurnal. So nocturnal, if you know what that means you're active at night. Diurnal, like us people, we're active during the day. Crepuscular is Miss Hiss here is most active more at the beginning of the day and the beginning of night. So kind of that dusk and dawn time. Crepuscular. Other animals like deer are crepuscular. We're also, the corn snake and the western hognose snake have similar breeding seasons, so we're also in the western hognose snake breeding season. She's also going to lay eggs. She'll lay eggs starting in May, and they'll hatch around September. She'll lay 4, going up to 20, 21 eggs. Awesome. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions? Okay. As always, if you have a question, you can comment below or send us a Facebook message. Well, we're going to be back on Monday with another Facebook Live video. I'm going to put Miss Hiss down. She's been doing great. We're going to be back on Monday with another Facebook Live video at 10 a.m. So thanks for tuning in, and we hope to virtually see you soon.